You are now listening to Extra Time with Dan and Chris from the Sportsheads. Gotta love a little extra time.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Extra Time with your boys Chris and Dan from the Sportshead. We hope you had a great weekend. It's NFL week, I guess, start of the NFL week. So I hope you guys have got your draft, fantasy draft picks ready. I hope you guys have got your teams ready. We're going to be doing a little special fantasy drama pick for tomorrow, actually. So I hope you guys tune in for that in the hurry up show. But yeah, let's start with you, Chris. How you been? How's your weekend?
Emotional roller coaster. That's how my weekend went, man. It was emotional roller coaster with my Miami Heat and these NBA playoffs, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was crazy. It was we got to get into it, but the Heat had me on an emotional roller coaster. So that's what I say how my weekend went. How about yours, D?
Mate, it was interesting to see that. But let's just first shout out to my boy Deshaun Watson, who I've picked for MVP, getting that massive contract. Well done, Deshaun. You know what I mean? Hopefully we can get him on the show because I ain't gonna lie to you, I love that boy. He's greatness personified in a bottle.
Gotta drop the money in the bank sound. There you go. Money in the bank, Deshaun. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's well deserved. What my worry is actually with Deshaun is just the fact that is he being set up to succeed in the Texans? I don't think so, because defensively they're quite poor. They were poor last year. They haven't really added any pieces for me to really be, yes, it's going to happen. And Bill O'Brien's not a great GM. Giving D-Hop away for a second round when Stephon Diggs went for a first, it baffles me. It's silly. And you're just seeing what other teams are getting for their receivers. So for me, you know, I'm a bit worried about the whole situation. I hope it doesn't turn out to be that case, but we'll see. But anyways, I think Deshaun's deserved his contract. I wish he got out of Texas to maybe another team. I know Houston guys won't like me saying that, but I care more about Deshaun's future and his ability to win multiple rings and being that GOAT conversation rather than caring about him staying for one team for the rest of his career.
You gotta remember, this league. I know we always say it's the pieces around it or whatever the case may be, but the Texans had to lock in that franchise quarterback. They had to, because if they don't lock him in now, then he would have really left. And you don't want to start that drama. And who knows if he gets hurt, and then the backup quarterback comes in, he plays well, and he doesn't have a contract, and there's a bunch of drama. Now it's quarterback controversy. Texans was like, nah, we got rid of D-Hop. We're gonna make you the franchise, and then the Texans are gonna move on from there. I don't think they're gonna be good this year. But once you lock up the franchise quarterback and other pieces know that he is going to be there for a while, their future could look pretty bright if Bill O'Brien don't get in the way.
Mate, they've given up a lot of draft capital. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't see them. They're gonna have to get free agents, to be fair, if they're gonna want to do well. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if they're gonna do well this season, but their league isn't great. You know, I'm not sure what the Titans are going to do. Tannehill, I don't have faith in personally. We're going to see if we're going to see what Jags are doing. I think they're just utter garbage at the moment right now. That team, no offense to the Jags people, and you got the Colts, who are just a solid team. But do I trust Phillip Rivers? Probably not. So I think they should be there or thereabouts within their league. I don't know how it's going to compare to everyone else in the season. But like I said, look, mate, I want Deshaun to do well. I'm a big Deshaun Watson fan. Let's hope and pray that he's, set up to succeed.
Yeah, that could have been a gamble, too. That could have been a gamble that those guys were talking about in terms of like, hey, we're in a soft conference. The best team next to us is Indianapolis. Who knows? 8-8, 9-7 record could get them into the playoffs as a wild card team. So, and the playoffs are expanding. So, I mean, so that goes there. That goes there. The playoffs are expanding this year. So that to be said, they could run in on 7-9. Who knows? And then possibly get better. And as a wide receiver, let's say I'm on a fringe contract and I'm coming out of my contract. Texas might be a place that I might want to go if I'm like that wide receiver in that 4 or 5 year range. Probably not with my team. The Texans might be a place where I can go ahead and kind of like what happened to Kenny Stills when he was sent over to the Texans. I'm not saying a Kenny Stills type player, but I'm just saying that situation. You know what I'm saying? You get a veteran wide receiver that Deshaun Watson that can help Deshaun Watson, and then you can groom some young people. Man, this is the NFL. people blow up dime a dozen, and you never know. So Texans gonna be all right.
We'll see. Well, moving on to the NBA. Now, Chris, your Heat, we kind of were sort of in agreement last week that we felt they were going to go for a sweep with the way they were just dismantling the Bucks. Interestingly enough, Giannis came out of the game injured. Right ankle was injured. I think it was in the injured right ankle from Game 3. So he was out of the game for Game 4. And the Bucks managed to win in overtime without Giannis. So just two questions I really want to ask you, or two questions I really want to get. The first one is, do you think the Bucks are a better team in this particular series without Giannis? Secondly, Miami did come out and say, look, we let their foot off the pedal when Giannis went. They sort of took it for granted. Do you think now that Giannis is probably potentially out for Game 5 that they can finish off the Bucks in Game 5?
All right. Your first question was, is this a better team without Giannis?
For the series, not in general, but for this particular series.
I would say this is my caution. This is the caution that I had. See, what happens is when you have a game plan for one person and or a set for a team. Let's say Giannis, we were able to game plan for him, put up a wall, and he would have to pass it out and dish it out to his others, as Shaq would like to call them, and they would have to make set shots, usually not in rhythm. And I was loving that because I was like, yo, just build a wall, let him start forcing things, and this will be clean sweep because Giannis has that pride and he just wants to get it done. And I knew he was going to start forcing things, and I started to see that in game 4. He had 18 points in the first quarter, in the first quarter, but we were up by 3 or 4 at the time. And he seemed to I want to take over the game. He started shooting his threes. He made his first one, so I was like, yes. I was actually happy he made his first one because he's going to keep taking them. And then unfortunately for him, he went out, twisted his ankle, and I think it was a rallying cry for the team. It galvanized the guys, and they said that when they went into halftime and Giannis was there, that they wanted to come back and fight for Giannis. And I understand that somebody that plays sports, emotion is a very big part of sports. And yeah, we have strategies and game plans and X's and O's, but sometimes it's the will and the heart and to get it done. And I have to give the Bucks credit. Spo said it in the post game that they deserve to win the game. I do give them that. We can say Miami took their foot off the pedal, but I don't really believe so because Miami did still play well. They didn't play their best. We turned the ball over a couple of times, but we did still play well enough to win the game. But you can't beat Chris Middleton just coming to the hole on double teams, hitting 3-pointers over outstretched hands. I got to give the Bucks that win as they will their team to win. Now, your second question, is this team that without Giannis constructed to beat the Heat in this series? No. I think that they're going to play with a lot of heart. I think that I will say we can't sleep. We have to come energize ourselves because we still could get beat by a team that we did not really game plan for. But if you give Eric Spoelstra 48 hours to go ahead and game plan for a certain team, even if the star is not out, I think this Jimmy Butler-led Miami Heat team is about business. I think Giannis going out set them up a little bit. They didn't really know. Not to say they didn't know, but they had to come back with a new formula and a new game plan. So it could have caught them a little off guard, but give Eric Spoelstra 48 hours. He'll have something for those boys. So I'm confident the Heat will close it out in 5.
I mean, you say 5. Like, you sure? You sure about your 5 pick?
Closing it out in 5.
All right. Say that with your chest, innit? Be a bit more confident, my friend. Beat that chest of yours. For me, going back to sort of the questions I asked you, it's interesting because, like you said, sports is very emotional. So you do get a situation where you can have players rally around and use that emotion to sort of carry you forward and propel you. Giannis, if he's complete, I don't know if it's confirmed, if he's out fully for Game 5, but if he is, that could potentially be a rallying cry for the team that, look, we can't lose this Game 5 for him. So we need to sort of press on and really push ourselves. Now, that could be played in two ways, where they have the energy to really match the Heat and actually take it toe to toe. Do I think they could potentially do that in Game 5? Yes, I think they could potentially win Game 5 because of that factor, especially if Giannis is definitely confirmed out. Because then it's like, yes, we're going to do it for him. We're going to do it for our talisman, our best player. And sports is funny that way, you know. Sometimes you see it'll be like a rocky situation. The underdog wins just because they've got that much more heart. Now, Miami are going to be a little bit pissed with the way they let the game slide. So they might go guns out all blazing. And Jimmy Butler is a dog. So he's one of those, he's an OG, I would say. He's my OG. And so as a result, you know, he's one of those guys like, nah, we need to win. Like, this ain't going to happen. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a very tight game if Giannis doesn't play. Now, sometimes, and I'm not saying this, again, it must sound like I'm a hater of Giannis, which isn't the case because he's my Nigerian brother, so I love him to bits. But sometimes you do get a situation where if your best player is out, the team don't have a heavy reliance on him and learn to spread everything, and they actually become a better team. We saw that the Celtics and Kyrie. Now that's a whole different ball game, going into a bit more nitty gritty into the chemistry and whatnot. But without Kyrie, they were a better team. So we could see potentially, like generally speaking, I do agree that basketball, the better teams with better players generally win. But sometimes, not all the time, you know, a team could work well, play well, and not have Giannis out for that.
I would say this. I think that they might play better in terms of cohesion, guys cutting, guys being aggressive. That particular college ball when everybody's moving and you got motion basketball where you don't have to get a superstar going. You don't have to put Giannis in the post. You don't have to put him at the top of the key. So other guys are going to have to. But obviously, we got to look at you're taking away 34 points, 17 rebounds, defensive player of the year, so on and so forth. So now the Bucks are gonna have to go small. They don't rebound. Brook Lopez isn't really a shot blocker or a rim defender. So when the game plan now for 48 minutes now comes into play, will the Bucks be able to withstand Miami's pressure without Giannis? Now that's the question that will be answered in Game 5.
Yeah, and that's the question that will be answered in Game 5, and we'll see. Like I said, sometimes you could be a situation where you rally around the player, and that emotion can take you above and beyond, and we see it in sports all the time. So we will see. It will be very interesting to say that. I think potentially the Bucks might win Game 5, and then it will go down to 6 potentially. We will see. I think if Giannis comes back, I don't think he'll be fully great on that ankle either way. He's now had that hurt ankle. I think he's going to be probably out. If he does try to push himself, I think that's going to be to the detriment of the team. And if he does play even any minute, I think the team's lost. So we will see. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat come out guns blazing because they want to, I think they believe in themselves. I think they believe in themselves to represent the East. And so we will see. That being said, on the East, let's talk about the other game, where you've got the Raptors and the Celtics, and that's been a very interesting dynamic because I felt the way it was going, the trajectory it was going, that the Celtics would probably come out and sweep Raptors.
Imagine a shot with 0.5 seconds change this whole series, man. It's been interesting to me. I thought Boston was going to be up 3-0. I thought the Toronto narrative was done. The whole Kawhi rental was just a rental, and the team and the whole spirit and experience and championship pedigree was just all out of Toronto when Kawhi left. And I'm wrong. These guys are showing fight. They don't woke up 43. They don't woke up Pascal Siakam. And these guys are going to be strong. Kyle Lowry and Van Vliet. These boys are coming. I think when you wake up the Giant, because they are the champions, you know, you're going to have to fight that. You're going to have to now beat that up. And the momentum is squarely in Toronto's favor right now. 2-2 game 5 tonight. And I don't know who's going to win this series now. I got to be like Shaq. When they ask who's winners, I don't know. I think the winner of Game 5 wins the series. I think I'm just going to go out on it. Whoever wins tonight is going to win the series.
Really? I think it's going to be interesting because, yeah, you're right. I think Toronto might, with the momentum to get 2 games back, and again, home field and advantage is not really a thing right now in the bubble. But like you said, Toronto have been woken up. I think they took their foot off the pedal, realistically speaking, for those 2 games, and I think they realized it was a wake-up call, and they're now trying to go back at it again. Like the way I said it, and I still stick to it, Toronto is that supermodel. You know, you get their off days where, you know, where it doesn't work, whether maybe the salad isn't feeding you right, you're going through your sort of intermittent fasting and, you're a bit lackadaisical, but if that's even a word, but now, they're coming back into forefront that you now to see why they are a supermodel. And so
now they set the stage. They set the stage. They walking on the stage now, huh?
Yeah, it's like some models, they slip on their heels as they go to the catwalk, and that's what the Raptors did, and they realized, no, these shoes are terrible. Let's put another shoes on and strut our stuff. And so now you're starting to see that, again, they are champions for a reason. Kyrie or not, they were still champions. They still, the bulk of the team is still there. So you have to sort of give them their credits, and the Celtics are still a young team,
So you're saying that Toronto slipped out of their Steve Maddens and into their Jimmy Choos? That's what you
basically, yeah. And Tatum is a star in the making, but he's not there just quite yet, as you said. And like you said as well, it's an old man's league, so we will see. I think it'll be interesting because if it's the Raptors versus the Heat, I think that would go 7. Personally,
possibly. I mean, you have good coaching on both sides. I think Eric Spoelstra is hungry to get back to the finals. We might not talk about his competitive pedigree and nature, but I think Eric Spoelstra, from a coaching standpoint, you got to remember there's competition between the players on the court, but there's also these nuances of coaching making their different strategies, which now you can see the coaching battle, and Eric Spoelstra is the OG of the Eastern Conference if you really think about it. He's the only one with chips other than, nobody else in the Eastern Conference has any chips because Ty Lue's gone. So Eric Spoelstra is literally standing up like, hey, man, I run this. Don't forget, I'm the one with the chips around here, and I'm going to show y'all. So I expect some master classes from Eric Spoelstra moving forward. Just like how you say Toronto's the supermodel. The Miami Heat is the thug dude with the dreads in the back that's going to take her home, though. You always be like, how is she with him? That's Miami. Miami's that guy that's making the bed. He goes home, he jumps in the Benz, got the grills in, and he goes home and he got a yacht and everything. It's just weird. It's just confusing. That's Miami right now, So you go with your
trying to use my
supermodel.
analogies, Chris. I don't know if it'll stick the same way, but all right, I'll see how it goes.
I'm trying.
We'll see how it goes. Miami is the sort of nitty gritty dog like imagery. All right,
that supermodel was dope, but I gotta make it a little different. We a little grimy. Do you know? The man said we got some dogs down here in Dade County 305.
All right, mate. All right. Now moving on to the West, we have the Lakers coming back. LeBron James and Anthony Davis contributing to 61 points in game 2 of the series, and now it's tied at 1 apiece. I think we both agreed that we felt it wasn't going to be a sweep. We both felt that Houston would definitely win a game. Do we feel now that Houston have won the game? Game 1 that Houston won was like just the outlier, and that the Lakers would go on now to win the rest?
Nah. This is gonna be a long series. James Harden and Russell Westbrook are not going to go out in 5 games, kind of like the Trailblazers did. This is going to be a long series, probably a 6-7 game series. Right now, This is going to be a series about adjustments, definitely, because we saw in that game with the Lakers. The Lakers actually gained a big lead. Shout out to Markieff Morris, who was just hitting 3-pointer after 3-pointer in the first half and put them up, I think, essentially by upwards of 16, 17 points. They had a big lead at halftime. And what did the Rockets do? They chopped that thing right down. They actually took the lead, and then LeBron and AD had to man up and make sure that they kept that win. So I can't say that the Lakers saw something and said, hey, we were chilling on game 1 game plan. LeBron did say that they had to simulate that speed because it's like the greatest show on turf. They were so fast. And so I think what happened was the game, again, we could talk about superstars, but if the coaches don't change their game plans, things are not going to go right. So what did the Lakers do? The Lakers went zone so that James Harden couldn't just load up on one person. He had to see 5 people behind him, kind of like what the Heat are doing with Giannis. The Lakers put a wall up in front of James Harden that he just couldn't willy-nilly himself to the hole or have crazy step-back jump shots because then the help would be coming from the left or the right. So the Lakers did change their game plan, slowed Houston up a lot, but Houston was still able to be in that game. So I do have to say that I think it's going to be a chess match with the Lakers having to go small to fit Houston, which is not what they want to do. We don't even see Dwight Howard and McGee in this game at all. So you see that the Lakers have had to adjust to Houston, but they adjusted to Houston, they won. So now Houston has to come back with the readjustment, and we're going to see what's going on. So that's why I think this series is definitely going to go 7 with definitely superstars that we have.
I don't think it will. Now, look, don't get me wrong, guys. I did say Houston was my pick to represent the West in the in the finals. You laughed at me, but we're getting there slowly. But realistically speaking, I think the Lakers will win. I think the Lakers are better in terms of adjustment. I think with regards to making even halftime adjustments, LeBron's got a great basketball brain. It's just, as a team, I think they're just a bit equipped. That Mike D'Antoni, you've seen him so many times not make adjustments, and after this game, will he make major adjustments? No, he will still continue with his philosophy of that sort of system. Wins championships, and everyone kind of knows in basketball, it's not really the system, it's the players, and you've got to sort of adapt to what you have. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. So we've got to see. Look, I still think that Westbrook is getting into form. He's still getting into form. He even admitted, I think, the other day, he's just been running around. He needs to sort of do better. But we got to see. I'm not entirely sure, because right now for me it's just more of a situation where I just think we look at the Lakers. I just think the Lakers, from a basketball point of view, I think they just have a better sense to change things around, to match things better with the Rockets. I think the Rockets might win another game, but I don't see it going to 7. I can't see the Rockets taking it to 7, because I just don't see the Rockets making that adjustment that they need to do if things aren't going well.
That's a great point, and I think this is where you kind of can see the D'Antoni and Mike Budenholzer either being stubborn or changing their game plan. Mike Budenholzer is getting out a little bit because Giannis got hurt, so he has to now change his game plan with what he has. D'Antoni doesn't. He has his full team, superstars. If you don't switch up, or you just want to be stubborn and not change your game plan, and you eventually end up losing, it means you're wrong, and you've been wrong all this time. I don't care how many people talk about D'Antoni's a good coach and he's a great players coach, and the coaches and players love playing for him. Harden does love playing for him, went to bat for him multiple times to keep his job, but you don't win. I don't understand, what is this thing about not winning, but I get to do what I want? You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, I remember that situation in Miami and LeBron. LeBron was winning, but LeBron wanted to do what he wanted. There was a bit of a clash with upper management a lot of the times, and he's like, I'm out. I'm not saying that's not the reason for his ultimate decision, but there was clashes with upper management in terms of I want to do what I want. But the organization is like, we need to win. Winning should be the ultimate sacrifice for everyone, and Houston seems to want to please people instead of winning. And if D'Antoni doesn't change his system or adjust accordingly, he will be home again. Full stop.
So you're right. I think there is a problem with the NBA. Sometimes they lose their freshness in terms of the ideas, and again, it's like the NFL is a copycat league, and you recycle managers. For me, I think after the second time, if you're a head coach and it hasn't worked out, stop recycling them, find someone else. There's a multitude of people in the game, in and around the game, that love the game, that can coach, and you need to find that sort of example. Like I said, I think after the second time, you look at Pete Carroll, you had the Jets, the Patriots, and then he's now Seattle, which is fair enough. Bill Belichick, Cleveland, before sort of doing the Patriots, and I get you might fail once or twice, but then after the second time, I would personally find someone else. I will try and find someone else. Mike hasn't really won anything, in his career, if we're being real with ourselves. So for me, it's, what's the point? You're right. What is the point of continuing persisting with that? And for me, also, a great coach, the number one thing for a great coach, for me personally, is adaptability. You've got to be able to adapt to different scenarios, different places, and different situations. I don't care if you're a great players coach, but are you a great X's and O's to match that greatness as a players coach? Can you adapt if things are going well? Every sport is tactical. Like you said, it's a chess game. It is very tactical. You need to outmaneuver your people, and think, and always be inventive. Always try and be ahead of the curve. Don't try and be okay, this is the way and it's going to stick to it. especially if you don't have the plays. Like if you had Steph and Clay, then I could be like, okay, you do that, but you don't have two of the greatest shooters of all time. I know you've got Harden, who's a great scorer, but let's focus on utilizing everything else that we have around us.
He's a one-trick pony. If he doesn't have a slashing guard or a paint-cutting guard or a passing point guard like Harden or Steve Nash, the system doesn't work. That's just full stop. And so because he's blessed with those particular guards for a system, the team is going to do well because it's built around that, but it's not winning basketball. Have you seen the Suns in the finals? Have you seen D'Antoni in the finals? The answer is no. And so how long are you going to keep doing the same thing? Last time I checked, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is what? Insanity!
Definition of insanity. So, on that note, guys, look, we hope you guys have enjoyed and loved the show. Look, it's been great talking about everything basketball. Obviously, now we're going into NFL, so we can really talk about the nitty gritty, that game that we love, the game that I'm passionate about, the game that I played, the game that I rocked, the game that I won things in. Well, I didn't really win anything in it outside of Madden, but you know what I mean. That game that you wish you won, that you can carry that Lombardi trophy, that you only play one game and you win, and winner takes all. That sort of nitty gritty, the things that we British people love. So yeah, we'll see. But that being said, remember to check us out tomorrow on the Hurry Up, where we are going to do our fantasy picks and sort of give you guys some sleeper hits and sort of tips and trades of the game. Also, we're going to do an NFL special on Wednesday before the game, before the Texans versus the Chiefs. So make sure you tune into that. Remember to like and subscribe, leave your comments on Instagram or YouTube. And look, guys, we hope you enjoyed the show.
Hey, Djokovic, do better, man. Don't be hitting line coaches and with the ball when you're frustrated. But I'm a big
we'll talk about that in a bit. Don't worry about that.
Big fan. Do better, man.
All right, Chris. See you later.
Thank you for listening to Extra Time. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts at The Sportsheads for all things U.S. sports.